Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. Today I'm going to do another episode of Time Capsule. I can't believe it's 40 years ago when it was 1982. I was a freshman in college. So I'm going to be talking about my 10 favorite albums that came out in 1982 and then a whole bunch of runner ups as well. According to my computer database, I have 94 albums that came out that year. So went through them. I like all of them. And here's my top 10, followed by some runner ups. At number 10 was Pete Townshend's newest solo album at that time. The year before, he had put out Empty Glass, which was a huge hit and a great album. But this album is still my favorite Townsend solo album. All the Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes. This is a great album, a little bit more intimate, I think, than Empty Glass. And it's got some great tunes on there, including a couple of my all-time favorites. Stop Hurting People. If you've never heard that song, it's like a poetic tune with a great groove. I love that song. Sea Refuses No River is awesome. Slit Skirts is incredible. Somebody Save Me. This is a special Townsend album. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. This was my number 10 album of the year. Number 9 is this amazing record by Richard and Linda Thompson. This is a classic album that's not known by a huge amount of people, but should be. The album is Shoot Out the Lights. This is a reissue on CD with a bonus track back on Hannibal Records. But this is a tremendous record from beginning to end. If you're not familiar with them, you might want to check out Walking on a Wire, Man in Need, Shoot Out the Lights, the title track, Did She Jump, Wall of Death. This is a classic album. Number 9 for me, Shoot Out the Lights, Richard and Linda Thompson. Number 8. One of my favorite Van Morrison albums came out that year. It's called Beautiful Vision. Another great Van album that's kind of, I don't really ever hear people talking about this one, but you may have heard at that time, Cleaning Windows. That is a great, kind of it could have been a hit single. It's really catchy. Cleaning Windows is amazing. The title track is great. Dweller on the Threshold. I just love this album. Northern Muse is great, and a couple of nice instrumentals on this as well. Beautiful Vision from Van Morrison, my number 8. Number 7, well, here's a shirt I'm wearing, Jethro Tull. They released a tremendous record that year. I thought The Broadsword and the Beast. I am really looking forward to coming out with the deluxe edition. You can see behind me, I have all the deluxe editions, and this is the next one in the series. But this is a great album, which was not a huge hit in America. Ian Anderson always says it was like number 1 in Germany. I guess it was. In America, it's a little bit overlooked, but it shouldn't be. One of my favorite Tull songs of all time is Pussy Willow. If you've never heard Pussy Willow, check that song out. But it's got a ton of great songs. Beastie, Clasp, Falling on Hard Times, Flying Colors, Slow Marching Band, Broadsword. Shit, I'm mentioning the whole album, basically. I love this record from Jethro Tull, Broadsword and the Beast. Let's keep going. My next favorite of the year was this album from Joni Mitchell called Wild Things Run Fast. It didn't hurt that I saw her in concert that year, and I just fell in love with this album. It is a great mixture. It's got some like pop, some rocky stuff. The part of this album really rocks, even some jazzy stuff. Great cover she does of Unchained Melody mixed in with a thing called Chinese Cafe, which is great. The title track is great. I actually love all of this album. Solid Love is kind of jazzy. She does a cover of You're So Square, Baby, I Don't Care, which is really fun. You Dream Flat Tires is a rockin' track. Underneath the Streetlights, a rockin' trap. One of my favorite Joni Mitchell albums, Wild Things Run Fast. Let's keep going. 4 left. My number 4 of the year. One of my favorite bands I talk about a lot, Dire Straits. I have a video already you could check out where I rank their albums. This is another great Dire Straits album, but they all are. This was the follow-up to Making Movies, which is probably my favorite Dire Straits album. This one's a little bit different. I think it's more for a true Dire Straits fan. It's kind of a progressive rock Dire Straits album, but what a masterpiece this is. Telegraph Road is the opening track. It is like pure progressive rock. I love it. Private Investigations is unlike anything you ever heard. He basically talks almost like a Tom Waits kind of a thing with the most moodiest music. How it was a hit single in Britain, I don't know, but it was. But you just have great stuff on here. The title track's phenomenal. It Never Rains is great, and what was going to be the single at that time was Industrial Disease is a fun song, but it's kind of lightweight compared to the rest of the album, and it kind of foreshadowed what they would sound like when they did Money for Nothing. Great Dire Straits album. My number 3 album of the year that year. Don't make fun of me. Keep an open mind. This album is unbelievable. It's one of the great debut albums of all time. It is a damn near perfect album. The supergroup at the time, John Wetton, who was basically a journeyman, played with King Crimson, Roxy Music, Family, tried to go solo, even played on a Wishbone Ash album called Number the Brave, which was really good. And then he formed this band with Steve Howe, Carl Palmer, and Jeffrey Downs, and it was progressive rock, and it is progressive rock. It's just not as progressive as, let's say, big, Progressive Yes or Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but there's a lot of progressive on this, but with a pop kind of a sheen. It is not easy to do that. They were never actually able to repeat the formula to the extent, although the other Asia albums are good. But this thing is a masterpiece. If you haven't, everybody knew. Look at the opening 3 tracks. Heat of the Moment, Only Time Will Tell, and Soul Survivor is an incredible opening. And all of those songs, if you listen to them with an open mind, they are very progressive. Even Heat of the Moment opens up with the guitar riff. Listen to the guitar solos from Steve Howe. It's classic Yes. Sloppy, not clean, but it's got that Yes solo sound. Carl Palmer is great on the drums on this. Check out Wildest Dreams. Wildest Dreams, ba-na-na-na-na-na. And then the opening riff of Wildest Dreams is straight out of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It sounds like Fanfare for the Common Man. Here Comes the Feeling. Without You is beautiful. This is an amazing album. And that was my number 3 album of the year back in '82. I got to see them on their reunion tour. I have like every Asia album. And I met them, and they were really cool. And I brought this original ad that I have, and they thought it was really cool, and they all signed it, which I have framed here. So, besides the fact that it's a great album, they were actually really cool. And John Wetton, God rest his soul, because he was tremendous. I'm a big fan of John Wetton. Uriah Heep, he was great in Uriah Heep as well. Let's keep going. My number 2 album of the year, maybe it's cheating, it's a live record, but I was lucky enough to be at this concert, the Simon & Garfunkel concert in Central Park. I was, a Paul Simon fan and a Simon & Garfunkel fan, but when I saw that concert, I went to heaven. We sat on the lawn, we got fairly close, and it was amazing. And then when they put this out on vinyl, this is still one of my favorite live albums of all time. It is a perfect live record. They sound great. They do some Paul Simon stuff, but it's great because it's got Art Garfunkel on there. The band is killer, and it's my favorite Simon & Garfunkel album. What can I tell you? It's a phenomenal live record. My number 2 album of the year, The Concert in Central Park from Simon & Garfunkel. So what's my number 1 album of the year back in 1982? And this is based on play. That's what I said in my previous video. I know how much I've played all these albums. I have a database. That's what the results are. What do I listen to the most? My number 1 listened to album that came out in '82 is this one by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Long After Dark. This album, I feel, is kind of overlooked in Tom Petty's discography. He's amazing. Tom Petty has never released anything that's less than really, really good. He's in the Hall of Fame and he deserves it. But this album's a little bit overlooked, and I don't know why. Because, it's up there with Damn the Torpedoes and Hard Promises and Full Moon Fever and Wildflowers, which I think are his 4 best. But this is way, way up there, equal to them, I think. It's an amazing record. The single, maybe that's why. The single was You Got Lucky, had this weird video, like a UFO video. But it's a really good song. But there's other songs. Check out Deliver Me. Change of Heart is amazing. Straight Into Darkness, We Stand a Chance. This is a great Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers album. I played it more than anything else that year, and it's my number 1 album of the year from 1982. And very quickly, some other runner-ups that are really good records, but didn't go top 3 for me. Robert Plant's first solo record, which I no longer have on vinyl because I bought this box set called 9 Lives, and it's got like you know, 10 of his solo records and remastered with bonus tracks. But his very first solo album came out that year, Pictures at 11. Sorry that you're looking at an ad, but that is a great record. The first two Robert Plant solo albums are amazing to me. I listen to them as much as a Zeppelin album. But the tracks on that album, Burning Down One Side, Moonlight and Samosa, Pledge Pin, Slow Dancer, which is like a great Zeppelin-esque kind of song. Like I've Never Been Gone is straight Zeppelin-esque. It's a great first solo record. Phil Collins was very involved with it as well. So great solo record from Robert Plant. What else came out that year? I'm a really big Blondie fan. Everybody shits all over this album, The Hunter. They say it's the worst piece of garbage ever. It's not. It's not up there anywhere near Eat to the Beat or Parallel Lines, but it's a fun record. I understand why it wasn't a big hit because it's different. They tried to experiment. But if you want to check out a couple of great Blondie songs you don't know, check out For Your Eyes Only, Dance Way, English Boys, and you're going to be like, wow, that's really great. And War Child is really fun too. The initial single, which was Island of Lost Souls, killed the album. But it's not so bad. What else? The Clash. I'm a huge Clash fan, and the ironic part is this is my least favorite Clash album, well, except for Cut the Crap. But everybody loves and knows Should I Stay or Should I Go? Know Your Rights is great, and of course Rock the Casbah. But again, really good record, but not anywhere near my favorite Clash album. Elvis Costello released a great record that year, Imperial Bedroom. A lot of great songs. These are deluxe editions with a ton of bonus tracks, but this was a really strong Elvis Costello record that I really liked. This album's kind of forgotten in time. If you've never heard this album from beginning to end, this is a great album. If you like, he looks like Buddy Holly and sort of sounds like Buddy Holly, but this is great. The first album from Marshall Crenshaw is a killer album, and Someday, Someway, you know that one. Cynical Girl. This is just a great lost classic. Marshall Crenshaw. Fleetwood Mac released a really good record that year, Mirage. They were coming off, of course, the Fleetwood Mac album and Rumors and then Tusk. Hard to follow up those. And this is the album they put out after Tusk. It's kind of experimental in some ways. It's kind of like a single album version of Tusk. This is a deluxe edition. But everybody knows Gypsy. But Wish You Were Here is a great song. A lot of really good songs on Mirage from Fleetwood Mac. Heart released this album. It was not a big hit because the initial single, This Man Is Mine, is a piece of garbage, in my opinion. Do not like that song, and it's a shame because the rest of the album is actually really good. But if you like Heart, go listen to Cities Burning, Bright Light Girl, Perfect Stranger. The opening three songs are tremendous. The Situation, Nancy Wilson sings that. It's a rocking track. It's great. And One Word is a masterpiece from Nancy Wilson, too. Don't overlook that record if you like Heart. Joe Jackson had his biggest hit that year with Night and Day. Another great record from beginning to end. Stepping Out, of course, is the big single, but a slow song. Real Men is incredible. Breaking Us in Two is great. This is a great album, and no surprise that it was a huge hit for Joe Jackson. Paul McCartney had his big comeback in a way. Not that he ever went away, but you know, this was critically, people love this album. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as a lot of critics say it is, but it's a good record. Tug of War, Take It Away was a hit single. But overall, it's a good record, except it's got Ebony and Ivy, which is on my list of songs that annoy the shit out of me. Check out my other video for that, because that's just, I can't even listen to that damn song. Lou Reed released a great album that year called The Blue Mask. If you like Lou Reed, I'm sure you know this album because it's phenomenal. But if you don't know this album and you like Lou Reed, you need to check it out. This is a classic record for new Lou Reed fans. You know, Waves of Fear and Average Guy. This is just a great Lou Reed album that came out that year. We're getting towards the end. Remember Billy Squier had that huge hit with Don't Say No? This was the follow-up album, Emotions in Motion, and this is a great album. It's equal to Don't Say No. He was the leader of a band called Piper, went solo, and he's a pretty talented guy, for sure. Everybody Wants You is a big hit, but Emotions in Motion is great. Learn How to Live is amazing. This was a good, fun record. She's a Runner, amazing track. Billy Squier. The Who, now I talked about Townshend went top 10 for me with Chinese Eyes. The Who released an album that year too with It's Hard. Not as good as the Townsend solo album, in my opinion, but a couple of great tracks on this album. You know, Entwistle came up strong on this album with Dangerous. Is a great track. It's Your Turn's a good one. The big track on this album is Eminence Front, which is basically a Townsend solo song in my mind. But it's hard from The Who. Two more. We mentioned John Wetton. Well, here is an album from Uriah Heep. Back at that time, there was a thing called the New Wave of British Heavy Metal, where in Britain, you know, heavy metal was getting kind of like AOR-ish, almost like hair metal-ish, and Uriah Heep put this album out, and it was a big hit for them, deservedly so. This is a great, even though the cover's kind of dated, this is a great album. If you want to hear like pop heavy metal, Uriah Heep did it in spades on this album. On the Rebound is killer. That's the way that it is. Should be a huge hit. It's a good record. As is this one. Wishbone Ash was kind of floating around, and they joined the new wave of British heavy metal for one or two albums. This is the same album, different versions of it. Twin Barrels Burning. And interesting thing on this album, having a little trouble here, but they had Trevor Bolder on bass, who of course was in David Bowie's Spiders from Mars, and he contributed to this album. And you know, it's a little bit of a heavy Wishbone Ash album, not really their sound, but one of my favorite songs by them is on this album called No More Lonely Nights. So if you want to check out Wishbone Ash, this is not really representative of their sound, but No More Lonely Nights is a phenomenal song. This is a good album overall. Wishbone Ash, Twin Barrels Burning. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. I can't believe that was 40 years ago. Isn't that something? 1982. But another great year in rock and roll. If you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe. Tell your friends to check it out. Most importantly, you know, give this music a try if you're not familiar with it, because it's timeless. It still sounds great. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.